Hello, in this video we are going to discuss the way to configure the AECOsim workspaces on a network. So we will follow main three steps to configure the network workspace. The first one will be create the workspace in the network. Second step will be copy at least one template project to the network workspace. And finally, we will check how we need to inform the other computers on our network to reach the new workspace, distributing a new file. So the first thing I want to show you is inside AECOsim, the open file page, you can select one of the workspaces and each workspace is having some templates or workset, right? In this case, in the sample, you can see I am using the building template neutral metric and in any one of these files, you can see the path or you can open the path directly with right click and open folder in File Explorer. So you can see the workspace are configured here and the AECOsim samples workset, that is this one, is available at that folder, right? And when we go into the AECOsim samples, there are standards and workset, but this is the sample, right, with the template. So the first thing we are going to do, reviewing the steps, is create a workspace in the network. Where is the network? We have connected a network drive in my computer, that is the X drive, and I have created a folder empty that is called network workspace. So what I'm going to do is go to the create workspace functionality, right? I will create a new workspace. It will be called AECOsim network workspaces, right? And I will define a description. But the most important thing is select a root folder. The root folder can be selected in my network, right? That is X network workspace. This is my folder. So what I am doing is creating under X network workspace a folder workspace called AECOsim network workspaces. And there is a subfolder for workset and another subfolder for standard. Workset will be for each one of our worksets. Standard will be used to store all the standards in our workspace. So if I select OK, what I can see is I can find in my X Drive network workspace a new folder called AECOsim network workspaces. There I have my standard folder that will be common to all my worksets on this workspace and the workset folder that currently is empty. It says there is no workset, right? So remember the second step, that is copy at least one template project to the network workspace. The template were available on the AECOsim samples, right? Opening the folder and remember that we have several templates. I have installed several datasets or several templates, right? So what I am going to do is copy to my X drive, that is here, X drive network workspace equals network workspace workset, at least one template. In this case, I will select the building template neutral metric folder and configuration files and will copy here, right? So currently my AECOsim network workspace is configured to use the standards as common for all the workset and a workset template, right? So at this point, I will close AECOsim and will open again. So restarting AECOsim to recognize the new configuration, right? And now on the workset, the workspaces, I can select the AECOsim network workspaces that is pointing to my X drive. And I can find there is one workset, the template, right? So you can see that is pointing to my X drive on network, X network workspaces, blah, blah, blah. Right. What we are going to do now is create a new workset and creating a new workset on this network workspace and using the template, building template neutral metric, right? The name will be project 001. Description is building project 001. Where is created? It's created in X drive on the network workspaces, AECOsim network workspaces, worksets with the name project 001, right? Clicking on OK, the project is created. project 001, right? And I can go to create a new file on this project. The file will be created on my X drive, but using a seed file from my dataset on the standard configuration. So the standard configuration will be still on my local configuration, but the workspace and workspace will be on the network. Let me create one file, call it design file, right? Design, and I will open AECOsim at this point. So the file I have just created is going to be opened. And when AECOsim has been started, you can see this in my new file, you can check that in your dataset, there will be 3 levels of configuration. So the first one is the pattern family. We can check the pattern family dataset explorer. The dataset explorer is pointing to 3 different folders, 3 different root folders. The standard for dataset neutral metric, that is what we usually do not modify, is standard. And we have a folder for the common workspace standard, another folder for this workspace standard, right? If I go, in example, to my catalog editor, and I create a new entry, a new catalog type, there will be with 3 levels: organization, workspace, and workspace. Workspace is pointing to my new network workspace, right? X network workspace standard. So it's valid for all my worksets on this workspace. And workset is pointing to the workset on the network. X network workspace, equals network workspace, workset project, blah, blah, blah. So now my configuration is ready to use the workspace on the network, and both levels, workspace and workset, are configured on the network. So now let me close AECOsim and go to review the third step. The third step is I have everything configured, but I need to inform the other computers on the network to recognize my new workspace on the network, right? So I can go and sample back to my AECOsim samples and open one of the folder. And you can check that in the standard workspace folder, there is an AECOsim sample CFG pointing to this one, but there is an AECOsim network workspace CFG. This is in my local computer. AECOsim network workspace CFG, and this file is pointing to my X network workspaces, right? So if I go to my X network workspace, no, not this one, on the network, on the X network workspace, right? AECOsim network workspace. So is finding this CFG on the local computer is pointing to the network. So what do I need to do? I need to copy this file to all the other computers on the network on this configuration workspace default folder. So what I will do is create a new folder here and create a folder called files to distribute to network computers, right? So what I need to do is take this AECOsim network workspace CFG file and copy to the other computers on the network at the same standard configuration workspace folder. So the application will read the local CFG, but selecting the CFG will be pointing to the network workspace. So this is the 3 steps to follow. Create the workspace in the network, in your network drive, copy at least one template project in order to create new project based on this template or create your own template. And finally, distribute the workspace configuration file to all the other computers you want to reach the workspace on the network. I hope this video was useful for you and explanation was more or less clear. So happy to be helpful. Thanks a lot for taking your time to watch this video.